Hello there, motor car enthusiasts! In this video, I'm talking about 5 things that maybe you didn't know about the classic Disney dark ride, Mr. Toad's Wild Ride. I think you'll be happy to know more about this totally enjoyable, all-ages attraction. If you think I am Amphibian, I assure you that I'm telling the truth. I'm Clover with Clover Loop. Join me as we go merrily on our way to nowhere in particular. Before we look at the list, let's take a moment to get to know Mr. Toad's Wild Ride a little better and look under the hood of this historic Disney dark ride. In 1949, Walt Disney Productions released a film called The Adventures of Ichabod and Mr. Toad that featured an adaptation of Scottish author Kenneth Grahame's 1908 novel, The Wind in the Willows. Disney Imagineers used the film as an inspiration, but they decided to create an entirely new story unique to the ride. Mr. Toad was originally envisioned as a roller coaster, but Walt Disney told Imagineers that he was only interested in rides that could be enjoyed by family members of all ages, so the concept was changed to a dark ride. Construction on Mr. Toad was finished in time for Disneyland's grand opening in 1955. Fantasyland underwent a renovation in 1982. At the same time, Mr. Toad was updated with new ride tracks and a new layout that included crashing through the fireplace at the beginning of the ride. This is more or less the version of the ride that we're still enjoying today. Mr. Toad's Wild Ride in Fantasyland at Disneyland in Anaheim, California is the only version of the ride in the world. A different version of Mr. Toad opened at the Magic Kingdom as part of Walt Disney World's grand opening in 1971, but it later closed in 1998. Okay, now that our Mr. Toad's Wild Ride history lesson is finished, let's motor right along to the list. Until 1998, guests could ride an entirely different version of Mr. Toad's Wild Ride at the Magic Kingdom in Florida. Unique to this version of the ride vehicles were old busted jalopies instead of the fancy period cars like we see at Disneyland. There were 2 separate loading areas, so guests experienced 2 different versions of the Mr. Toad ride depending on where they boarded. Mr. Toad at the Magic Kingdom was eventually replaced by the Many Adventures of Winnie the Pooh. A tribute to the extinct attraction can be found on Winnie the Pooh. The next time you ride, watch for a painting on the wall that depicts Mr. Toad handing Owl the deed to Toad Hall. In his book, The Disneyland Book of Lists, author Chris Strader shares some of the funny titles of the books in Mr. Toad's library. Keep your eyes peeled for titles like Rumpeltoadskin, Pond Politics, Ivan Toad, 12 Angry Toads, and Wart in Peace. Strader says there are hundreds of books on his shelves. While it's true that Disneyland in California is the only place you'll be able to ride a Mr. Toad's Wild Ride, Mr. Toad does actually make a couple of other appearances at Disney parks. One is in Fantasyland at Disneyland Paris at a fish and chips restaurant called Toad Hall Restaurant. Another is at the Haunted Mansion at the Magic Kingdom in Florida. As you exit the ride, look for a small pet cemetery that contains a small statue of the sadly departed Mr. Toad. And on the Storybook Land canal boats at Disneyland in California, you can admire a miniature Toad Hall from your canal boat. Each ride car is named after one of the characters from the original Disney animated short, The Adventures of Ichabod and Mr. Toad. Keep an eye open for ride vehicles named for Badger, Cyril, Moley, Ratty, Toady, Weasel, and Winky. If you look above the door where the guest line enters the show building, you'll see J. Thaddeus Toad's family crest. The Latin motto on the crest reads, Toady acceleratio semper absurda, which translates to, going fast with Toad is always absurd. Do you agree? So there you go, 5 things maybe you didn't know about Mr. Toad's Wild Ride. Did I get anything wrong? Did I leave anything out? My favorite part of the ride is the oncoming train illusion where it feels like your car's on the tracks with the train headed right for you. Look out! What's your favorite part of this ride? Let me know in the comments below.